Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm here with Paul Hodgkinson from Ecosurv. How you doing, Paul?
I'm very well, thank you, Mike.
Good stuff. Please, as always, if you could start us off and give us a bit more background as to who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it for, please, Paul.
Okie dokie. So, as you said, I'm Paul Hodgkinson from Ecosurv. I'm the managing director of Ecosurv. I've only been in this role since summer of last year, but I had been previously working in partnership with Ecosurv for over 20 years. Um, and Ecosurv has two sides to its business. The main EcoSurf side of things um, really helps clients through mainly in construction through the complex world of ecological legislation,
Mhm.
um, helping them sort of fulfill their project needs and requirements while staying kind of the right side of the ecological law. So we do a lot of things like biodiversity net gain assessments, preliminary ecological appraisals, protected species surveys. So we'll soon be coming into kind of bat survey season. So bats, badgers, great crested newts are our bread and butter, but we also get involved with things like otters, dormouse, a lot of reptiles last year. We do quite a lot of habitat creation and management as well. And we also do a lot of species mitigation through licensing in conjunction with Natural England. So essentially, we take what is complicated, often confusing
Mhm.
process and make it manageable so projects can progress. I think probably the part that I enjoy the most on that is the habitat creation and the uh, animal kind of relocation work. So we do quite a lot with badgers, removing badgers off site. It's quite an important role in being able to get construction through. So get involved in designing and building artificial sets, and then safely relocating the animals under license, so they're safe and protected, and development can continue. The other side of the business is Habitat. So we manufacture predominantly bat and bird boxes, um, but the difference there is that a lot of them are integrated masonry products that are designed to fit into the fabric of the building. So when a building's being built, or sometimes if
Mhm.
it's in kind of refurbishment, so they're
Yeah.
designed to be discrete installations that match the fabric of the building. So we match the brick to the building, or the stone, or supply them ready for render. Um, Obviously, the species appropriate should go without saying, but
Yeah.
we do have competitors that aren't. Um, and then we also produce and sell quite a lot of professional grade timber boxes, and we do those in conjunction with HMP Humber as part of their prisoner retraining program.
Mhm.
Um, and we do also a lot of specialist products as well. So a lot of barn owl boxes last year, hedgehog boxes. I've mentioned artificial badger sets. We're also getting involved in a number of turn rafts as well, which are a little bit unusual for us. So
Mhm.
we can do a lot of bespoke work as well.
So there's quite a few services there, and obviously product development. But has that come from the development of the business in terms of, does it start off as one thing and then slowly progress into providing other aspects of it?
Yes, and definitely, and that's where my journey with
Yeah.
EcoServe started over 20 something years ago. So myself and the founder of the business, Graham Jeffrey, were out on a site up in the northeast where an architect had built this lovely building, nice brick facade on it, but it was punctuated with these grey boxes, which detracted from the aesthetic of the building. Um, Also, they'd had a lot of problem installing them because they were an unusual size. And he basically said, "Can you do anything better?" Me and Graham looked at each other and said yes, and then went away and designed something. But we did, and actually made 13. So Graham designed them. I basically made them. We supplied 13 to this site. Thought it was a total one-off.
Hmm.
Um, and then 20 odd years later, we've supplied thousands across all parts of the UK. And it's all been through organic growth. So, you
Yeah.
know, we made those, thought we'd never see the light of those again. Got asked, can we do some more? Can we do some more? And then it was, can you do something like that, but for Swifts?
Yeah.
And then it just grew. So it's pretty much all been through pull from customers
Hmm.
requesting, specific species or a specific location or style on a
Yeah.
building. And then can you do some external ones? We're not going to put these into the fabric of the building. We want some external mounted boxes for trees or other locations. Um, and then things like the turn raft came about after some work we were doing on some habitat recreation or creation, uh, where there were some large lakes involved, and the client wanted to re-establish a tern colony there that had been predated. So we wanted something that could float out in the middle of the pools, some sides on them to stop creatures like mink and that attacking them and predating on them. So yeah, it's all been kind of customer led or customer pulled
Sure.
at the
Yeah.
moment. So yeah,
And in terms of your journey into MD,
yes.
what were you doing before and how did that come about?
Okay, so uh, I've been with my previous employer for over 33 years. I'd worked for other corporates before, so I was working in senior management level for them, which I had done since 2007. Um, Doing various different roles. So, the company had got 2,500 plus UK people. We were doing 500 million pounds worth of business in the UK. Um, Graham approached me because he wanted to retire, asked me if I'd be interested in running the business. And yes, I was, but I was very much in a comfort zone.
Mhm.
Um, and I was probably a little bit fearful of taking that leap. I spoke to Graham about, I feel like I'm at the top of a diving board and,
Yeah.
do we turn around and walk back to what I know or do I take the leap? Um, After 6 months of talking about it, I managed to make the leap into the icy cold water,
Yeah.
um, and have never looked back really. For me, it was. I'd always had an interest. I'd had a lifelong interest in wildlife.
Mhm.
At school, I wanted to do something with conservation, but back in the 1980s, my careers officer quickly talked me out of doing such
Yeah.
nonsense, and to get a proper job. So I'd gone into industry. I was working in construction, but again alongside kind of Ecosurv. So for me, it was a chance to kind of do something that linked kind of my commercial ability and skills with
Mhm.
something that I loved. And I've
Sure.
spoke to some of my friends and colleagues about, yeah, I found my Ikigai. My whole purpose for being, which is really nice. Um, and I think, I quickly realized that it weren't about me. It was about the bigger impact that I could have on things and something that was, dear and passionate for me.
Fantastic. Love that, especially the reference to Ikigai. It's something that
You pronounced it right.
yeah, I've had a look at myself over the last few years. So yeah, love that. Thanks for that share. So what's the business journey been like for you to date between sort of well, I know you kind of overlap, I suppose, from being with Graham and then running the business. How's the business journey been, I suppose, historically and for you? Does we say one or two words to describe it and then expanding?
Okay, so a steep learning curve.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, probably three words, but yeah,
Yeah,
steep
yeah, all
learning
good.
curve. Um, so obviously coming from a corporate background, yeah, the big thing was there was a department for this, a department for that, and a department for marketing, procurement, strategy, finance, HR. On day one, I realized that I was all of those. There was only 10 of us, and I was pretty much head of every department. So
All
that,
right, looking at you.
yeah, yeah. So that was that was a bit of a shock. That I think on the second week, one of our ecologists had a car accident, rang up, quite upset, not knowing what to do. What do I do? And it was like, I'd just ring a department and they would do that. And now I've got to organise making sure they're safe. Have the police been
Yeah.
called? Is there a breakdown truck on the way? What do we do? Kind of, how do I notify the insurance? All of a sudden, it was, wow, you are in the deep end now. You haven't,
Yeah.
you don't just pick up the phone and say, "Can you deal with this?" Um, but it was also a bit of a shock, and I remember kind of laughing to myself because 1 minute I'd be looking at finances and strategy, and then I'd be out in we've got a couple of lockups there, out packaging up bat and bird boxes, uh, watching a YouTube video how to use a band strapping machine, making a right hash of it, and trying to package deliveries up because a truck was on its way to come and pack them up. It was like, crikey, if my former colleagues could see me now on a band strapping machine watching a
Yeah.
YouTube video. Yeah, you've hit the big time here, Paul.
Hey, well, it's different from the most, and I suppose more exciting and more challenging, which perhaps you weren't getting in the other roles. So, what are the challenges and opportunities for you guys as a business, as far as you can see them at the moment?
Okay, so um, challenges come in obviously macro, micro kind of levels.
Yeah,
So if we look at the bigger picture, construction industry is a little bit kind of suppressed at the moment. We've got government legislation which um, says one thing and does another, and then maybe do and that will maybe do something else kind of in the future. So it's a little bit uncertain there. Um, Drilling it down to a more manageable level, it becomes really exciting because the business has never really gone out and promoted itself. It's always
yeah,
grown organically, as you probably got a flavor earlier on. And that has been, through delivering good quality work on a consistent basis, has led to a lot of repeat work with the same clients and a lot of word of mouth. We're now in a position where we want to go out and kind of tell the world about what we do. So
sure,
we're currently rebuilding the website. Um, we're looking to recruit more ecologists. So we've been in a position where we've got some very dedicated people who have been working way too hard. It's a nice problem to have as a business leader, but
yeah,
long term, we've got people that have, I'm having to stop working 7 days a week or 6 days a week. I remember them celebrating that they'd only done a 12-hour day, um, which seems great, but it's just not sustainable. At some
sure,
stage,
yeah,
that's going to impact kind of their health, their enjoyment of the job, the level of the work that we're delivering for clients. So we have this term that we're going to invert the pyramid because everything is going through kind of our principal ecologists, and we need that to tear down kind of properly. So
mhm,
we've been recruiting ecologists. That's easier said than done because it's not just about the qualifications these people have. You want them to have a lot of the soft skills as well,
mhm,
but also the right kind of personality to fit into the dynamic of the business and the culture that we're trying to create. Um,
yeah,
it's creating, been trying to create a culture that's you know honest and open, and I think one of the things that people who are working there, because most people have worked there for quite a long period of time. I've said before, they're highly invested in it, and they've been working there a long time. So change has been a bit of a challenge, and to bring them around, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Yeah.
Type scenario. Um, but you know, sharing a lot of the detail with them of what's going well, but probably more importantly, what could go better.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I think that honesty and openness has been kind of really fruitful. I think, people, they know that things aren't always going right. They don't expect perfection, but they do
Yeah.
expect transparency. And I think developing that trust has been a really important part in getting everybody on board, adapting to the changes that I wanted to do, and then looking for growth as we go forward, because we've got some very, very talented people that know a damn sight more about it than I do.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't want to be the blocker
Sure.
on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we can, if they can take that ownership and that responsibility, it allows me to kind of go out and do more strategy rather than suppressing and blocking people's kind of
Yeah.
ideas.
And YouTube videos on how to pack boxes and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You made some really good points in that in terms of people don't expect perfection but want transparency. I think that's a lovely way of kind of putting it. And in terms of your development, it sounds like it from listening to you into a leader of the business, from being, taking your hands-on approach at the start, but developing through to, I suppose, realizing the potential that the business has based on its foundation of organic growth, and then taking it
Yes, yeah,
out to the world a bit more.
yeah, and it was, I'd recognized that potential before I made the move. And it was
Mhm.
one of the things that was a huge tick as like,
Yeah,
wow, look, I can,
yeah,
we, I don't know who listens, so I apologize if there is any corner shop kind of owners out
yeah,
there. But before I joined, that we'd had this conversation about we want to take it from a corner shop. We
mhm.
can't go to a great big superstore, but we can take that next step to be
Yeah,
that convenience store.
yeah,
Um, and that's been an analogy that we've used kind of too many times now within the business. But that's kind of the journey that we're on.
nice. Like that. Thank you for sharing that. So, in terms of your biggest lesson to date, then through the experience that you've had, what would you say that is?
Oh, certainly adaptability. We've kind of just touched on that from
Mhm.
kind of doing kind of strategy, finance planning,
Yeah,
talking to investors to okay, I'm now on the banding machine. So I
yeah,
think there's a lot of adaptability. Um, but I think kind of the biggest one has been the importance of having the right people and getting them engaged with your vision and where you want to go, especially as the new boy coming in for people that have been there for a long period of time.
yeah,
Um, that has been probably the biggest one. We've spoken about that openness and honesty and building trust, but you got to it's creating that ownership as well. So making sure that you're not micromanaging and undermining, giving people that space and confidence to take the responsibility. So it's not, this is what I've been told to do. It's, yeah, this is what I want to do.
mhm,
And that has been incredibly kind of powerful. Um, and with a lot of the things I've just mentioned, but, particularly kind of trust comes a lot of respect, treating people properly, listening to them, valuing them. People want to be heard. Um, when you get that right, it builds that trust, and everything else seems to become a lot easier to do, even
mhm.
even the difficult things. Um, so I think they're probably some of the biggest lessons that I've kind of learned over the last kind of 9 months. Um, if I if I had to kind of think, what have you learned? Is like, don't bring any ego kind of with you. You might have been doing kind of leadership roles for a number of years, but corporate space is very different to the small SME
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Um, and what I thought, yeah, we'll just do this is is not quite as that smooth journey. Yeah,
Sure.
I'm going to use that word adapt again. You have to adapt
Yeah.
for it.
Great stuff. I mean, it's a really good lesson shared within that, as you say, parking the ego for for kind of adapting to different styles of leadership that is needed for the people that you have on your team in a different type of business, I suppose. So great
Yeah,
shares.
yeah.
Thank you.
I know I'm regularly kind of, you know, asking questions, and there's still almost every day I ask one of our kind of team a question. I think this must be the dumbest question that they're going to get asked today, but it doesn't matter. Even if you're asking what you think are dumb questions, you learn. And I think there's a vulnerability in admitting that you don't know something, you're not the font of all knowledge, but somewhere within your team, that
Yeah.
answer is out there.
Oh, you're definitely approachable then, aren't you? Like, I need you, you need me. We're kind of working together on like how do we solve this challenge or create this opportunity? And yeah, you're not above people. You're yeah, you're part of a cog in that kind of wheel that you want to keep turning, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So, in terms of your inspiration, then I know you mentioned about being excited to work in the sector that you do and your Ikigai. What is it that keeps you getting up to go to work? If you can define it a little bit more.
Without being incredibly cheesy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I now feel as though I
That's,
work in something that transcends the industry.
no, but I can
Um,
even just on this video, I can tell the passion for what you do and the excitement. But and that's not something you can just kind of off the shelf get. It's either within you or it isn't it? Well, it's within
yeah,
all of us, I
yeah.
believe. It's finding the channels with which to express it. So yeah, you don't have to get too cheap, but it's
No,
innately with potential within all of us, I think.
yeah, yeah. And it's not just about creating a business, although, I want to leave a legacy of a strong business when I kind of take my next steps.
Mhm.
But it's actually about contributing to something that's way bigger that I'm passionate about.
Mhm.
Like I said earlier, I've always had a lifelong interest in wildlife. That conversation with my careers officer about going into conservation, being a park ranger and getting talked out of it. I used to joke at my other job that I was doing it until I started doing it until I could find a proper job. And
Yeah,
30 odd years later, it feels like a proper job's arrived,
yeah,
which is great. I think, I sit here now quite comfortable with the decision that I made, but it did take summoning up a lot of courage to do it, if I'm honest. And, any of your kind of entrepreneurial kind of business owners will probably recognize that. But I look back now and my only regret is not doing it any sooner.
sure. But sometimes you've got to go through that process to to maturity or whatever it may be in order to take that step. The time's right when it's right, kind of thing. And yeah, you have to uncondition yourself from the last 30 years in order to make that step, which is not an easy thing, you know. So fair play to you.
No, but a word that I've overused is I found it liberating.
Yeah,
Um, so yes, you've got that certain conditioning from the corporate world. Um, but this kind of I've definitely found this very liberating.
brilliant of that. Thank you. So if someone was to come to you for some advice, Paul, of starting out, it may be take the leap sooner, or you know,
Well,
if you were seeing yourself
yeah,
at
I
18,
was
yeah.
just trying to politely I was going to politely put that. Yeah, but yeah, summon up the courage sooner. trust yourself, trust your ability, your
Yeah.
knowledge, your intuition. Like I said before, don't be afraid to park your ego up, ask questions, admit that you don't know something, listen to people, massively treat people kind of with the respect that you wish to be treated,
Okay.
kind of with, um, ultimately smile and enjoy it.
Nice. Good place to end on that bit, I think. But just before we do, in terms of any latest news or if people want to get in touch and find out more about what you do, feel free to share that now.
No, that would be fantastic. I think I might have said earlier on that we're currently rebuilding our website.
Mhm.
It's something that was probably neglected slightly, so we've never really marketed ourselves. So we're building kind of a website. So hopefully by the end of April, we'll have a nice, shiny, attractive kind of website that people
Mhm.
um, can visit. Um, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, it's paul.hodgkinson at ecosurv.co.uk. Yeah, we're looking to grow. We're looking to take on more qualified ecologists for the work that we're doing. We're predominantly in kind of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, the northeast at the moment, but we're looking to expand. We've already got a lot of sites in the Midlands. We even go down to kind of Kent. So we're looking at geographical growth. You know, if there's any kind of developers, architects, landowners, ecologists who need any ecological support, um, please contact us. We'd love to kind of talk to you about that. If there's anybody looking for kind of bat bird boxes or other species, again, you know, we've got a very good, strong product that's, you know, unfortunately gets copied a lot, but with 20 odd years of experience, we can offer the whole package, not just the product.
Nice. Brilliant. Paul, been a real pleasure talking with you. Thank you
Thank you
for
very much, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
yeah, sharing all that you have. And I yeah, wish you all the best for the future success of the business.
Thank you very much. Thank you.